Please subscribe to our channel, Pacific Front Untold, and be sure to leave a comment after watching a video.
In the summer of 1938, the fate of China hung in the balance. The Japanese Empire, fresh from its victories in Shanghai and Nanjing, were pressing deeper into the Chinese heartland. Its next target was Wuhan, a city of immense political, economic, and symbolic importance. After the horrors of the Nanjing massacre in late 1937, Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government retreated inland. Wuhan, located at the confluence of the Yangtze and Han rivers, became the interim capital. It was not just a political hub, it was also an industrial center, a rail and river junction, and a rallying point for Chinese resistance. The Japanese Army General Staff concluded that Wuhan was the key to ending the war. If they could seize it, China would lose its capital, its communications hub, and possibly its will to resist. On paper, Japan had committed around 400,000 troops to this campaign, but Chiang had assembled more than 800 defenders spread across 4 war zones. The Chinese outnumbered the Japanese 2-1, yet the numbers alone didn't tell the full story. The National Revolutionary Army was plagued by poor training, inconsistent equipment, and divided loyalties. Historian Richard Frank noted that Chiang commanded over 2 million troops of widely varying quality. A small elite corps trained by the army of German advisors, a second tier of regional forces, and a vast mass of poorly trained men, many of them loyal more to their warlords than to Chiang himself. The Japanese, by contrast, enjoyed superior artillery, better logistics, and unified command. Still, their manpower advantage was insufficient for a guaranteed breakthrough. Both sides prepared themselves for a long and bloody fight. Now, Chiang knew Wuhan would be attacked. At the Wu-Chang Conference in January of 1938, he declared that China's strategy would be one of attrition. By forcing Japan into a protracted struggle in central China, far from its bases in Manchuria, he hoped to drain Japanese resources and demonstrate China's resilience to the entire world. The geography of China favored defense. To the north lay the Dabi Mountains, to the south, rugged hills and poor roads. The Yangtze River itself was a natural barrier. The Chinese fortified mountain passes, dug in around the railroads, and prepared defenses along the river. They also turned the Yangtze into a deadly obstacle. 79 ships were deliberately sunk to block navigation. Minefields were laid, and batteries were installed at narrow choke points, such as the Madong. The riverine defenses forces manned these fortifications, hoping to stall Japan's amphibious operations. Now the stage was set for one of the largest campaigns in modern Asian history. The Japanese launched their offensive in June of 1938. Their forces advanced on multiple fronts, north and south of the Yangtze, and with amphibious landings directly along the riversides. Early victories came swift. Japanese air power played a devastating role. Bombers targeted both soldiers and civilians, often with the help of local collaborators, marking targets on the ground. The town of Sheshin, for example, suffered a daylight bombing raid guided by a traitor carrying a red umbrella. Over 1,000 homes were destroyed and 160 people killed or wounded. Yet air raids were only the beginning. Japanese troops implemented the infamous 3 alls, a policy that qualified killing all, burning all, and looting all. Burnings of villages followed in the advance. Civilians, including the elderly, were slaughtered, and comfort stations were established, forcing women into slavery. Still, Chinese resistance remained fierce. In late June, the 26th Army Group launched a counterattack. Malaria had already weakened the Japanese defenders, and after several days of fighting, they withdrew. One of the campaign's most shocking episodes came at the Madong Fortress, a key stronghold on the Yangtze. The Chinese had fortified it with mines and batteries, yet in late June, Japanese forces encircled the fortress. The defenders fought desperately, but they lacked supplies, reinforcements, and crucially, gas masks. The Japanese used poison gas, violating international law. Entire units were incapacitated, and just after 3 days, on June 26th, Madong fell. Poison gas would not be the one time use for this weapon. It was used over 370 times during the Wuhan campaign alone. Civilians as well as soldiers were targeted. The fall of Madong shocked Chinese leadership. Chiang had expected the fortress to hold for months. Instead, the Japanese secured a logistical highway along the Yangtze, enabling them to push further upriver toward Wuhan. By July, Japanese forces were advancing towards Zhujiang, a vital river port just 240 kilometers from Wuhan. Amphibious landings at Gutang and Zhujiang pushed Chinese defenders back, and poison gas was yet again reported. Once the cities fell, atrocities followed. In Zhujiang, the surrounding counties, nearly 100,000 civilians were reported to be killed. Over 13,000 homes destroyed. But resistance did not cease. Teachers, farmers, and civilians organized escapes or armed resistance. Despite Japanese momentum, the Chinese scored a major victory at Wajilang in September of 1938. The Japanese 106th Infantry Division advanced into Jiangxi province, only to be surrounded by 16 Chinese divisions. General Zhu Yu orchestrated a massive counteroffensive, cutting off Japanese supplies. The encircled division relied on airdropped rations, but conditions worsened daily. Chinese forces stormed Japanese positions, and although relief detachments eventually broke through, the 106th Division suffered catastrophic losses. Nearly half of its officers were killed or wounded. Yang was proof that under strong leadership and with numerical advantage, Chinese forces could defeat Japan. It became a symbol of resistance and a bright moment in an otherwise devastating campaign. By October, Japanese forces converged on Wuhan from multiple directions. They cut the Guangzhou-Hankou Railway, isolating the city. And on October 27th, after 4 months of brutal fighting, Wuhan fell. The Battle of Wuhan was one of the bloodiest campaigns of the war. Chinese losses were staggering. At roughly estimating of 400,000 casualties, many of them civilians, the Japanese suffered only around 100,000 in comparison. Poison gas attack, terror bombing, scorched-earth tactics, and deliberate massacres turned central China into a landscape of devastation. And yet, Wuhan was not Nanjing. The Japanese victory came at an enormous cost. The nationalist government survived, retreating further inland, and China's resistance remained unbroken. For Japan, Wuhan was a hollow victory. They had captured the city, but failed to force China's surrender. Instead, the war continued to drag on into a grinding stalemate. Unable to secure a quick victory, Japan turned its eyes southward, toward Southeast Asia. and eventually into conflict with Western powers. In this sense, the Battle of Wuhan marked a point where the Sino-Japanese War became inextricably tied with World War II. For China, Wuhan became a symbol of resilience. It showed that despite defeats and atrocities, the nation could continue fighting. The campaign bought valuable time, allowing China to consolidate resistance and maintain international support. The Battle of Wuhan was not just a clash of armies, it was a struggle for survival, fought across rivers, mountains, and cities, with civilians caught in the middle. It exposed the brutality of the Japanese occupation, the resilience of Chinese defenders, and the sheer scale of modern war within Asia. When Wuhan fell on October 27, 1938, Japan celebrated a victory. But in reality, it had sown the seeds of its own overreach. The war it thought would end in months stretched into years, and ultimately into a global conflict that would end with Japan's defeat. The Battle of Wuhan stands today as both a tragedy and a testament. A tragedy of unimaginable human cost, and a testament of China's determination to resist against all odds. What do you think? Was Wuhan the moment Japan lost its chance at a quick victory in China? We would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments below. For more information, feel free to visit pacificatrocities.org. Thank you.